Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Business Podcast. I am your host, Jill Thomas. This show is about helping business owners create faster and more easy success than they thought possible. And I'm so excited because this week's guest is Tess Ball. She is a trauma-informed, shame-free movement coach and the owner of Ashland Strength Studio. Tess empowers folks to get curious and to feel more at home in their bodies. And I've got to say, I love Tess. I actually got introduced to her by watching her Instagram feeds. And I love your little videos, and I loved the answers to your simple questions like which kind of diet should you do? Which kind of exercise program should you do? I thought they were so practical and so smart. And tell us about how you get your ideas for those posts, because I think they're brilliant.
Thank you. So as somebody who is in the fitness space, who didn't originally feel like I belonged there, I didn't see a lot of folks like me. I didn't see, I was a designer in my first career. I'm an artsy person. I was a theater kid. Like, the gym wasn't made for people like me. And so in 10 years of experience working with clients who are like me, who struggle with the same feelings of not belonging, whether it's in the gym or in their own bodies, really just normalizing the fact that there are no shoulds. I think removing that, because that is the question, like, oh, what should I do? Which plan should I follow? What should I be, thinking about when I, create an exercise routine? All of those shoulds that people are really concerned about, because, right, we care about our bodies. We want to do it right. We want to be effective, but really breaking down the fact that, one, there are no shoulds. Every single body is different and has different needs and has gone through different experiences. And then two, how to listen to your body to figure out what it needs, what it's experiencing, has just been really important. And so I try to bring that to social media because I think that's step one. And as a business owner, I want to give people quick wins on social. Like, if somebody just gets introduced to me and my content, I want them to get a quick win. I want them to receive something valuable. And those are the types of messages I find that are really valuable to my type of person.
I love that you talked about that. So, because there's a great book that I love, and we've talked about this before off air. There's a great book called Cultish by Amanda Montell. And I wrote a blog post, a newsletter I sent to my clients. Some of you guys have seen it, that where I just called out cultish behavior within the hypnotherapy world. And then I got all these flood of emails back from me. Oh, you're talking about the karate world. Oh, you're talking about the self-help. You're talking about all these. Everybody was like, it's my world. You're describing what it's like in my business. And I thought about it because she specifically calls out the fitness industry within her book, which everybody should read, by the way. Everybody should read this book. Tell me about what your experience is, because you quick shout on YouTube will get you some of the most obnoxious, sexist, ridiculous YouTube videos you've ever seen in your life, body shaming things on fitness, trying to sell you stuff that's just like bizarre. Tell me about that, Tess, because I know you have a strong opinion on this issue.
Oh, okay. Now that we got to shake it off first, right? Like, so I think one of the hallmarks of a cult is somebody telling you what is true and disregarding your objective observation of reality, right? And I think within the fitness world, that's especially true when we're teaching, I say we as because I'm a part of the fitness world, right? And like, we as a fitness community tend to tell people what is true about their body rather than teaching them how to access their body. And so when we're doing that, it creates a power structure where we have all of the answers to what you as an individual should know about your body. And yes, I have a lot of training. I do know a lot about the body, and there are some answers, but if I'm not helping you access that for yourself, rather telling you this is how it should be done. It can only be done this right way. There's a moral imperative to doing it that right way. And if you don't follow that moral imperative, you're lazy or you're worthless or society isn't going to love you. If I use that as manipulation, that's totally cult-like. And I feel like that's so much of what the fitness industry does, because our industry was created within certain power structures and power dynamics, and we can't separate how we teach fitness from white supremacy and patriarchy. Like, it is so deeply embedded in that I think oftentimes unhealthy power dynamics are a result.
I love your observation of that. And I have to throw in, technically, I am a personal trainer. I see this in air quotes because I don't consider myself a personal trainer. I consider myself someone who passed a test. So tell me about the difference between a person who goes to the American Council on Exercise, takes the 50-question questionnaire. I read the book first, and someone like yourself who is a fitness professional who's learned a lot. And tell me about this distinction, because that person still charges the same amount of money. You go into the gym, not your gym, of course, because you have a really, really integrity-based business. Tell me about the difference in that experience.
Oh, all right. I'll give a story that I think illustrates the difference for me. It's what changed me, because I never thought I would be in the fitness industry. I never thought that I would be doing this with my life. And through happenstance and a series of events, I wound up in a yoga teacher training. And could have very easily become exactly what you're talking about. The person with the answers, who's taken the test, who can now profit off of, this skill that I have. And it was in that teacher training that I was practice teaching. There were like 3 other students. They were in this warrior pose. And, it was my job to instruct them. We're learning the skill of teaching. And I was like, okay, move this knee here, move your shoulders here. And our teacher, our instructor in the program, looked at me and she was like, Tess, see your students, see people. And I was like, I, of course, am seeing people. Like, look at that knee, look at those shoulders. And she's like, Tess, see people. And I was like, what did I just say? I was seeing people. The knee moved, the shoulders moved. I clearly saw people. She's like, Tess, see your students, see humans. And it like hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks, because I realized I was so disconnected from seeing people. I was so disconnected from like the very human exchange of it, that I couldn't see that there were 3 people who were like holding this pose for like 3 minutes while I, had them suffering and like standing there shaking, and they were just dreading it. And I wasn't communicating effectively. Yes, the knee moved, but what did it do for them? And so I think that comes with experience. It comes with having the humility to get it wrong. I think it comes with finding the people who need the thing that you offer. Because some people do want to be told, like, do this way and get this result. Like, some people like that. But the way it changed for me is just that process of realizing that having the answers that you check off on the test isn't actually the important part of it. Like, that doesn't, like, yes, it matters, but it doesn't matter as much to me, and it doesn't matter as much to my clients as the process of being seen and being able to be safe and being able to be vulnerable and being able to let their guard down and know that that's not going to be manipulated. And so, does that answer your question?
No, it totally does. And I love what you're describing, because within, the perfect example you gave earlier of the power dynamic within the gym structure. So, imagining as a woman, and we can both relate to this one, going in, you're wearing clothing that makes you more vulnerable. It's not stuff you would wear out in public. It's not as much clothing as you would typically wear out in public. And then you've got this personal trainer they have power over you. They're telling you whether you're doing it right or whether you're doing it wrong. And in subtle ways and in not so subtle ways, they can chip away at your self-esteem and your self-confidence. And not only that, you paid for it. You signed up for that. So I love what you're describing, how instead of looking at it as a text page, you're looking at it, taking a holistic approach to personal training.
Well, and it comes down to what's the goal? Like, not only what's your client's goal, but like, what is your goal as a business owner? What type of world are you invested in creating? How do you spend your time? Like, what type of world do we want to live in 10, 20, 30 years from now? And how are you putting action to that daily? Like, I'm not invested in a world where everybody is a certain weight. Like, I could give two hoops. Trying not to swear.
Yep, love it.
But like, I don't care how big people are truly in my core. And that's not a world that I care about creating for humanity 20 years from now. What I care about is creating a world where we have far less shame, where I, as a non-binary person, and as somebody who identifies as femme, like, I don't have to feel ashamed when I don't show up in leggings and a sports bra, because like, that's not something I'm comfortable in. And that's what is portrayed. Like, I want to show up in my structured pants and my hoodie and still feel powerful in the gym, because it's not about, for me, aesthetics. Like, I'm investing in a world where, we learn how to breathe, because breathing is critical to nervous system regulation, and nobody's teaching me that. Like, that's the world I want. And so that's the action I put in with my business. And I think that, for an audience of business owners here, like, thinking about your business like that too, like, it takes the pressure off of getting it right. You're just like, okay, did I take steps to make the world, to contribute to the world in the way I wanted to? Cool. Whew, done.
I love that. I love that approach. I've noticed over the years working with a lot of business owners that the most successful ones came into this with two issues. They wanted to solve a problem, or to solve a specific problem, a lead and a lack they saw in the world. And there was a passion. Tell us a bit about, for you, if that's the case, and what's the passion and what problem did you want to solve with your business?
Oh, I never really thought about that. I mean, yes, like, in the traditional marketing sense of like, what problem are you solving for your ideal customer? Like, what is the transformation, the point A to point B? Like, there are problems to be solved. Honestly, I think I just started because I was pissed.
Oh, I love that. Love that.
Like,
tell me about that. I love it.
Like, as somebody who was raised in like a fundamentalist Christian upbringing, who was in a marriage where I did not have bodily autonomy, where, like, I think for so long, like, I didn't have the tools to identify with my body. I didn't play sports. I didn't get the experience of being present in my body for so long, that when I finally did take a deep breath and realize, like, oh, cool. Like, I have this whole thing and nobody freaking told me. Like, how did nobody tell me? And I'm pissed that in going into gyms, I never felt like I was welcomed or belonged or was safe, or like, nobody had the answers to like all my many questions, because I'm definitely like a curious question asker. I was always the kid raising my hands. Like, nobody took that approach, or at least I didn't see it at the time. And I was kind of pissed about it. And so, yeah, like, I think it was that, plus like, I've tried to work in gyms and I don't feel like it's not my place. Like, I'm not a gym person, even though, yes, I own a fitness studio. I understand the irony. And so I just wanted a place to work out. I wanted a place that didn't have bright lights and people yelling at me and loud music. And I wanted a place that was that appreciated science around, you know, when I opened my second studio, it's like, there's no place that's COVID conscious that I feel safe breathing heavy around other people. And so it was just like, honestly, frustration and roadblock. And I wanted access to a space like that. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to make it myself.
No, I love that. That's perfect. I love that idea that I couldn't find what I wanted in the world, so I created it. I love it.
And like business ownership, yes, it can be complicated. It can be hard, but like, it ain't that hard. No. Like not to undermine anybody's struggles when they're in that phase of like, it's really challenging, because we've all been there. And yes, there are, you know, periods of a lot of work, but, it's not nearly as hard as like working in an industry you're dispassionate about, or working in situations where you're in a power dynamic that doesn't serve you. It's so much easier when you have control and autonomy, for me. And so that's where it's like, yeah, like it's almost the easy way out, and I'm pissed, so that's what I'm going to do.
No, I love that, because I think a lot of people get it in their head that this kind of business, especially your kind of business, is really hard. Because in your case, you're renting a space, and that rent.
I mean, commercial leases are hard.
Yeah, commercial lease, but you're renting a space. That rent is going to show up every month, whether the clients do or not. Tell us about that experience, what that's like.
I think in some ways, like experiencing financial scarcity for most of my life, with the exception of a time in New York in my early 20s when I was like a go-getter in marketing. Like I had financial safety for a period, but when it comes to my body, I'm very risk averse. And then when it comes to my vocation, I'm really risk tolerant. And I think understanding your own risk tolerances is one of the best things you can do as an entrepreneur, and understand how those risk tolerances show up. Some people have a really high financial risk tolerance. Yes, for the first, year and a half of my 2 studios, because I've owned 2 studios, one in Seattle, and then pre-pandemic closed that down, and then have had Ashland Strength Studio for about almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in January. For the first 6 months of my first studio, I was struggling. Like it was hard with that. Like I have to pay rent, I have to pay my bills, I have to eat. I don't yet have the clients to support that. And then for the first year and a half of this business, it was like, well, there is not enough. I have a risk tolerance and I have no shame. Those are my 2 best skills. So I have no shame in asking for help, or saying that to my partner, hey, I don't know where it's going to come from this month. I'm really, really scared. And have really good people around me that are like, okay, what do we need to do to figure this out? How many clients do you need this month? What can we do? How can we reduce expenses? And so one, being open to those conversations, because you can't, like, if you're just spinning in your head about it, if anybody is listening who is spinning in their own head about, I don't have enough clients and I know bills are due and the 2 just aren't matching up. 1, it's okay. It's okay. Find somebody who will tell you it's okay. Let's figure it out. And then 2, assess for yourself, is this an okay amount of risk for me? Do I have the capacity to handle this risk? What can I do to resource myself so that I can tolerate this risk?
That's great financial advice, no matter what you're doing, whether it's T-bills or stocks or bonds or anything, or business, or owning a business. That's great advice.
Yeah, because if you realize at the end of the day, 1, you don't have the capacity for it. How do you solve that problem? Maybe it is you stay in your day job a little bit longer. And as much as that sucks, you can at least acknowledge, like, you know what? I don't have the risk tolerance for this right now. Or if you don't have people in your life that you can talk to about it, make that a priority for the next year. How can you surround yourself with people who get it? What community do you need to be a part of so that you can get that support? Like, but if you're stuck in your own head, it's just, that's a bad place to be.
Well, so Tess, can I ask you a question you may not want to answer, but not wanting to answer it is just fine too. Tell me, as somebody who identifies as non-binary, tell me about any unique challenges that you would say that you have in this industry.
Oh, okay. More story time, I suppose. So I think this puts it together nicely. Yes, my messaging is such that it attracts more people like me. Yes, when you walk into the gym, you kind of just know, like, but there is not, like, I don't have a pride flag. I don't have, like, there are things that I could do to be more gay, like, in this space. Like, it is not like there are really awesome gay gyms and I love them. But my gym is like pretty what I would consider neutral. And still, my landlord came up to me in conversation and said, you know what, you should really tone it down because you're probably not going to get the support from the community that you need to be successful. And there are other businesses in the city who have expressed their support, of Black Lives Matter, and they have pride flags up and they're struggling. And as a business, like, I think this is the thing that like really thickens your skin if you don't have thick skin already. Like, you have to know whose advice is important to you. Like, kind of, yes, have people in your life, for those financial conversations, but in all conversations, make sure that you are being influenced by people whose opinion you respect. Like, this person who told me that could have really shaken me. It could have made me feel extremely unwelcome. It sucks to hear those things. It sucks to be told, please don't exist here in the way that
Don't
you
be
are
yourself.
currently existing.
Don't express you. Don't express. That's crazy. I'm actually really surprised that happened. I really am. And also, a lot of businesses in every community are struggling, even ones that don't have pride signs outside of their studio. So that's just such nonsense. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, like it's unbelievable. It's totally believable. And it was easy to kind of like slough off or like roll right off my back because I understood ahead of time that this is a person whose opinion does not matter to me outside of the contractual obligation that we have as landlord and tenant. He's not somebody who I'm taking business advice from. I reserve that for a select group of people. He's not on the list, therefore doesn't matter. And so if you're listening to this, like, make a list of people whose opinions of you matter to you. Everybody else, just try to let it go. I think it's harder online because those opinions can be voiced publicly. Like, I think anybody who is of a marginalized identity, whether that's you're a person of color, you're a Black person, you're an Indigenous person, you're a trans person, you're a woman, it's harder because the algorithms don't necessarily work in your favor a lot of times. Oftentimes you experience a lot of setbacks. Oftentimes you have to put in a lot of extra effort into blocking, commenting, hiring people to help you block, comment, having to worry about your own safety in ways that other business owners don't have to worry about. Like, when we talk about like the wage gap, we don't necessarily factor in all of the unpaid time. I'll just say for myself, like, that I have spent talking to my partner when I don't feel safe, because of things online. Talking, hiring people to help with problems that other people don't have because they are not as vocal about their values. There's a lot of unpaid work and effort that goes in behind the scenes as a woman, as a non-binary person, that I've had to do. And I can't imagine how much more that is for people who have additional, and, harder to navigate identities. So
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, that is a huge part of the experience. I've been in sales for a million years, and as a woman in sales, there's expenses that my male colleagues will never have to have. I'm expected to get Botox. I'm expected to get my hair done so often. I'm expected to be of a certain weight. I'm expected to be of a certain ethnicity. I'm expected to a lot of things. And for all of that, I get 75 cents on the dollar. Woohoo, so excited, right? All of these little things that these dudes never have to deal with. They can wear the same suit every day. I can't do that. If I have a runner in my stockings, I have to run to the store and get one. I love what you're describing that, because that is a big part of the experience. And that's one of the reasons I am encouraging people to become entrepreneurs, because when you own a business, as Tess knows, you get to set the rules, you get to set the price, you get to say who, you get to say when, and you get to say how much. And I love that part of the experience. I wanted to get a little bit into, because people on the show or listening to the show, a lot of them are transitioning from a job to a business. Tell us about that experience for you, because you did say you had a job before this. Tell me about that.
I have been back and forth. I started out in corporate marketing. I slowly transitioned. I was kind of moonlighting teaching yoga at a gym just because I needed a hobby and thought it was fun, and I was curious about it. And then that gym, there were several people who wanted to do private yoga lessons with me. And the gym said, you have to have a personal training certificate in order for us to allow you to do that. And I was like, well, what the hey, I guess I'll get that. And then it kind of snowballed over time. I started working in more yoga studios. I started working in more gyms. And then eventually decided that I hated gym culture so much that I, for very low rent, subleased from a yoga studio and taught several private clients. And it just kind of ramped it up organically over time in a way that suited my risk tolerance. Like at the beginning, I didn't have that risk tolerance, so I very much stair-stepped it. Like, okay, I'm going to rent this studio for $400 a month and have a handful of clients, and that I outgrew it. So it's like, well, can I add an additional day? And, at $700. Okay, well, I think I actually want to do this. What is an affordable option for me to have my own space? It's like, okay, well, I have to be part of the shared municipal office space. And that's only $1,100. It's like, okay, that's a little bit more managed. It's a little bit harder than 700, but it's only one client or only two clients. And so I learned a lot through that kind of stair-stepping process. When I moved out of Seattle, I went back into marketing because I didn't want the pressure of opening a brand new space in a brand new city that I'm not familiar with. And so I went back into marketing. I was like, I've done it once, I can do it again. And this time was a little bit more abrupt. I felt I had the, mountain of evidence that I have done this before. So I felt pretty good about being able to do it again. And so this one was a little bit more, screw it. I'm just opening a space. Although, I made sure I had a couple fractional marketing clients at the beginning. I made sure that I was going to eat, more than likely, fingers crossed, I was going to eat, my dog was going to eat, basic needs are going to be met. It was stressful. Like I said, the first 18 months was, biting my nails at the end of every month, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, or oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. But I think when you have that tug at you that happens for so long, it's almost more stressful to ignore it and stay in your job than it is follow, follow your values, follow your desires. Like, if you're miserable in a job, just take those small little bite-sized chunks that progress you toward the thing that you want. And eventually, like, you get to look back and be like, oh, I'm a successful business owner. That's cool. I guess bills are going to be paid and I don't have to worry this month. That's cool.
Love it. Tess, that's awesome. That's a great way of describing it. And I love the little steps here because, you know, people think that they have to come up with the rent for a studio space right away, but your advice of just taking a little bit at a time and keeping that bill payer until it doesn't need you anymore is a good way of putting it. And you know, you and I can talk about this all day, and we actually have, but our time is kind of coming to a close. So I want to see, you know, before we close, I want to see if there's anything you feel like people should know that I didn't think to ask you.
I would just say, figure out what experience you want to have as a business owner, like beyond the business plan. Like, you can get a template online for your business plan.
You don't
but figure out what was that?
I said nobody needs a business plan. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Like, you need a whole lot less than you think you do at the beginning. But what I needed was to figure out what I wanted out of my business. Like, a lot of people would have said, why are you spending money on a brick and mortar studio? But I wanted that. Like, that is the thing that I wanted. I love hosting people. I love the experience of bringing people into a space. I love connecting with people one-on-one. I love having a floor to sit on where we can just dig into it. And I love being able to control that environment in a way that helps me facilitate a really cool experience. That was that was so important to me. And so that's the thing I had to figure out. And I think a lot of people are figuring out their content strategy. They're figuring out their website. They're figuring out, you know, all of the things that we think we need to have as business owners. And I would just encourage you to do like that deep kind of like inner work of, what is the experience I want when I show up to work? Because let me tell you, like, when I get to show up to this space that I've created in a way that suits me as a business owner, I get to like throw a really bomb party. Like, it's awesome. And the right people are attracted to that because I know that I'm in alignment. So I would say, like, if you're overwhelmed in all of the stuff of business, ask yourself, like, is it really what I want? Like, what part of this do I want? Do I want to be a host of a party? Do I want to like make things with my hands? Do I want to deliver experiences? Do I want to connect with people? Do I want to connect with one-on-one people or multiple people? Like, really do that exploration.
I love that. That is really great advice, Tess. So how can people get in touch with you? I know if you're in Ashland, Oregon, which I'm pretty sure most people listening are not, then you should absolutely go to her studio. Just tell us about other ways they can reach you. I will put your link to all of your socials in the description of this, so you know, you don't have to spell your name or anything, but tell people how they can reach you.
Awesome. You can find me if you want to, if you're struggling with getting in touch with your own body, like, would love to help you in that way. Like, that's my favorite thing to do. So you can find me at heytessball.com, or on socials, it's Hey Tess Ball. And that's TESS, ball, like a basketball. But I'm everywhere. Would love to teach you strengthy stuff or connect with you on business stuff too.
And her Instagram feed, for anybody who, in case you didn't hear it when I said in the beginning, is really good. You should watch it. And they're short. The advice is just like so practical and smart. And you're like, why is everybody making it so complicated when she can make it so easy? It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tess. You have been great. It's been wonderful. So thank you so much for playing along. And for all of you listening, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was good information. It's always my pleasure to bring these amazing guests because I really believe this is the age of the entrepreneur. I think you're going to be financially better off if you start at least a side hustle. Maybe you don't have to open a big studio right away, but do what she did. Start with these little things on the side. Start doing little bits here and there and working your way towards this other thing. I think in general, We just need to be doing more for ourselves. So I love that you're doing that. So thanks again, Tess, and hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.